No, 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 I shouldn't. I should not pull. I am not gonna pull. No, I must resist. I must resist. I need. Please, 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 please. Oh my god! We fucking.
You can't keep getting away with it!
They can't keep getting away with it. They can't. I was gonna skip this. I was gonna skip for the collab like everyone else, but like after this quest, dude, I don't get it. How can you skip? I don't get. I don't care. They fucking did it again. How can you skip Denya after playing this segue? Every character is so hard to skip, but it's fine because you know what? If I have to, I will drop a fucking nuke spending on 3.4. I will have no regrets because Wuwa is the only gacha game where I have zero buyer's remorse. It is one of the few games where I'm confident that revenue the game earns will just get reinvested back into the game. And the devs have proven that time and time again. Like, just take my money. Every quest lately has just been such a banger. I don't care. Like, I love Wuwa so much, man. I'm so passionate about it. So I feel like there's nothing wrong with spending on something I love and appreciate this much. But anyways, let's just talk about the quest. Like, now, I wouldn't say this quest hit me as hard personally as some others did. But this is objectively still, I think this is one of Wuwa's best quests like ever written. I don't even know how to rank them anymore. There's just too many good ones to count these days. But like, oh my god, there is just so little criticism I have for this quest. 99% of this video is just going to be me glazing. I don't even know where to start. Let's begin by saying that like this quest addressed several issues I had with the Lahai Roy arc. The main ones being Sigrika's relationship with her friends, as well as finally explaining why the Fraxidus were in Lahai Roy fully. If you watch my previous reviews, a common complaint I had was how the relationship between Sigrika and Denya and Nivora was never fully fleshed out. I was never sure if I just missed it or something, but like why has Sigrika just never questioned what happened to Denya and Nivora? And they finally addressed that this patch. Like towards the end in the after story, I was so happy when Sigrika finally mentioned her suspicion on where Nivora went. I was honestly quite shocked upon finding out the after story wasn't voiced as well, because like it felt pretty significant. Like it's pretty like we finally got closure for that. So I was kind of, yeah, I'm just shocked that that wasn't voiced. But like in fact we finally got a large portion of this quest actually focused on Sigrika and Denya's relationship instead of with Rover, and I am so glad it did. Like, because let's be honest, before this quest we barely interacted with Denya. It felt much more organic for the quest to focus on Denya's own inner turmoil and her relationship with the Academy instead of Rover solving everything for her. Like, we really got to see how much Sigrika meant to Denya and the lengths she would go to keep her from getting hurt by the truth. And those segments in the quest where we were just walking around with Sigrika and Denya are such a stark contrast to what I complained about in 3.2. And this is exactly what I was talking about by wanting actual meaningful character interactions despite how mundane and insignificant they may be. Like, spending the day for Denya's birthday with Sigrika coming along actually had a purpose, unlike eating waffles with Luke. It amounted to that scene where they said their final farewells. That scene had so much weight to it. And that's another thing I want to glaze. Kurowa has gotten so good at writing dialogue. It feels so much more concise while having much more nuance underneath it. Like, we no longer have to sit through these long bloated dialogues to explain exposition and character motivations. That farewell scene, it just felt so human. It was so good. And not only did those scenes do a great job for fleshing out Sigrika and Denya's relationship, but they also solved another issue that I think Wuwa had in the past. There was very minimal Rover glazing this quest. As you know, a common complaint during the early days of Wuwa and Rinaseido was how every quest kind of just like came down to Rover just aura farming and solving everything and then rizzing up the waifu of the patch. But like, Wuwa got the name Gathering Wise for a reason, right? But if you have been playing the recent quest, it is so obvious they have completely strayed away from that form of writing, and now they're just making good character stories with Rover on the side slowly getting characterized when it's appropriate. Like, you can see that, in fact, you can see that fact in the segue when while Rover pushed Denia forward using his perspectives from past experiences, he was not really the driving factor for the narrative progressing. Like, the quest plot progression mainly revolved around Denia and her decisions, not Rover's. And but anyways, like, to the last complaint that was addressed, I remember being really underwhelmed by the end of the first half of 3.3 due to how underutilized the Fraxidus was, but this quest also fixed that issue. They reveal near the end that the reason why they were so uninvolved in Lahai Roy is because their experiments already kind of failed and were done with. Like, I think I finally realized that the Grand Architect is just evil for the love of the game. They deadass just kidnapped a child. They kidnapped Denia as a child, and then they brainwashed her to think that her life purpose was just to be the Thronodian's resonator. That is, I'm starting to think they don't even have any noble cause. Like, they were literally just lingering in Lahai Roy to ragebait Rover, Hiyuki, and Denia for the fun of it. And their goal is to corrupt Rover and make him go down the same paths as the Fraxidus. Like, their plan was to make use of the leftover failed experiment, aka Denia, and make Rover have no choice but to kill her. But as Denia said, that would be too cruel to force Rover to do that, especially considering his savior complex and Denia being someone who really needed saving. And hence why she went off on her own in order to not put that burden on him. Like, that is just so fucked up from the Grand Architect. Like, overall, I think learning about Denia and learning about her relationship with the GA this quest really recontextualized what I thought about them and the Fraxidus, and it definitely lifted my dissatisfaction from the first half of 3.3 quite a lot. But yeah, the characterization of Denia was so good, man. Like, it is easily some of the best in Wuwa, and it's the main reason why I wanted to make this video as quick as possible. I was not expecting such a tragic character with so much complexity and depth to them. Like, the quest starts with her being quite secretive, but as the story progresses, we realize how much her guilt has been eating away at her from all the damage she caused while under control of the Thronodian. Like, we see this in the scene with Nastasha and how much Denia doesn't think she deserves to live, combined with her belief of existentialism and her life being meaningless because she was just a lab rat. She felt like it was enough justification to disappear from the world, but at the same time, it's obvious that, like, Denia still doesn't want to die. She at least wanted to feel like a real human with proper closure before she died, and she was in so much despair over the fact that the world would just continue if she died, as if nothing changed. But that is when Rover introduces his experiences in past quests to emphasize that there would be change. Maybe not on the scale that Denia is thinking of, but it would still impact the lives of Sigrika and Nastasha, and he ultimately makes her realize that life is worth fighting for. But, like, for those fleeting moments of happiness. Like, and you contrast that, like, those scenes to the scenes with Nastasha, the ones celebrating her birthday with Sigrika. They showcased her will to live and how much she cherished her life with Sigrika at the academy, proving Rover's point. But, like, that is where the main tragedy of her character lies in this quest. Even though she does conclude, I think, that she wants to live, she was put in a predicament where she was forced to sacrifice herself. Like, the two options were basically Rover kills her and the Thronodian fragment disappears with her if she gets killed, or Rover removes the page from Denia's heart, but the fragment would try to find her and establish a connection again with Aleph 1. And as we see in the quest, she chose the latter option because she didn't want to put Rover through the former, as we said, as well as just, like, she kind of just did it as, like, a fuck you, a final fuck you to the Fraxidus and the Grand Architect, which I just loved. But, like, that came at a cost with her absorbing all the remaining void matter and being consumed by it. And regardless, either choice she was going to make was going to be tragic. Like, Denia's whole life was just a tragedy, and it was an extremely compelling tragedy in my opinion. And I don't think Denia will return to the story anytime soon, especially with Lahai Roy more or less wrapping up. But I do think she will eventually return, just it's not going to be for a very long time. Because I think she technically isn't dead. She just got sent to the void space from absorbing all the void matter, and let's be honest, it's a gacha game. They aren't going to keep her dead forever. They're going to bring her back eventually. I mean, we've learned this. We've had this game before with Imeth and Ferlova. They're just going to do it. But On top of the fact, another way to justify this is because Rover wasn't really affected by her sacrifice, and his confidence that she will eventually returns really like pushes me to think that she will return. But it doesn't change how shitty I felt after playing the quest. But besides her internal conflict, I also just found her contrast with other characters to be interesting, namely Imeth. Besides the pink hair, of course, I feel like a lot of people were already comparing them before the quest came out, but like it felt like they were really just two sides of the same coin. Like while Imeth embraces Rover's savior complex, Denya hated about him. She hated the idea that there was this savior out there in the world that completely contradicted her worldview. And if there was a savior like that, why did she never appear? Why did they never appear earlier in their life? In her life, it was actually very similar to Frolova's hatred of Rover. The main difference being that Rover and Denya never met in the past. Now, obviously, over the course of the story, Denya eventually grows to respect Rover and be the only real person that she can trust. But I still found that starting impression of him quite unique, just compared to every other character already having a good relationship with him. And it was nice to see him, see her grow from hating him to, I guess, I think it's implied that she likes him at the end of the quest. Yeah, it was just a nice, like, change of pace for character writing. But that's basically all the main stuff I wanted to talk about over with. The last thing I want to talk about is the horror segment of this quest. As I've said before, I prefer when these quests have less gameplay because like the gameplay is usually not that interesting. But this quest had exactly what I'm talking about when I say gameplay is okay when it's novel and not just fighting generic enemies. Like they keep cooking. Like the mech fight last patch, now this. I was so impressed by the section you were just running around from the Nivora dolls. It was executed so well. I was genuinely terrified during that part. The sound design of them running towards you, the speed that they ran towards you, and the atmosphere, it was just so good, man. And it was probably the most locked in I've ever been playing a Woowa quest because, let's be honest, most of the time it's piss easy. But like, I don't know, I was terrified and I did not want to get caught by the dolls. But yeah, that's basically all I have to say for now about the segue. I wasn't even planning to make a review for it. This is a pretty rushed out review, but like I had to for this one. It was so good. And I think this is also the quickest one I ever made for a quest. Of course it helps that the segue was relatively short, but like it was such a good experience that I wanted to talk about as soon as possible. But yeah, that's basically it. That's just a quick video that I wanted to get out.
彼女と同じ道を歩む可能性を意味してるわけですから。
This quest is peak.
でも、
They fucking did it.
あなたが本当にページを取り出したなら。